Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. We're just going to take another few minutes to let people join in. And while we're waiting, if you'd like to put your name in the chat and where you're joining us from, we'd love to hear from you.
We are live on Facebook. Now, take it away, Ava.
Hello again, everyone. Thanks for being here. Just taking a few minutes to have everyone join us. So while we're waiting, if you could put your name in the chat and where you're joining us from. Looks like we got San Jose. More San Jose. Gilroy, that's great to see. Great, seeing that it's already 6:01 and we have a lot to cover, we're going to just dive into this. So we are here today through our partnership with Valley Water to talk about how you can save water indoors. During this presentation, Aaron Edelstein from Bottom Line Utility Solutions will discuss tips and tricks that can help lessen your water use and your water bill. Before we continue, you might have noticed that this webinar program is being translated into 4 different languages. At this moment, please select your language and also click mute original audio if you are going into breakout room that isn't English and you wouldn't like to hear the original audio. You can go ahead and do this now. Okay, so who are we and what's Daily Acts? For those who are unfamiliar with our organization, Daily Acts is a holistic environmental education nonprofit based out of Petaluma, California. We mainly work throughout Sonoma County, but we are partnering beyond. We strive to make connected, equitable, climate-resilient communities and give people the tools and knowledge to lessen their environmental impact while maintaining a full lifestyle. We at Daily Acts believe in the power of daily actions, hence the name of the organization. We strive to connect the community and inspire positive change. We do this by educational programs, action campaigns, and influencing policy. This program is in a Zoom webinar format, so if you have questions during the presentation, please put them into the Q&A and they will be answered at the end of the presentation. Feel free to use the chat to share resources or communicate with the entire audience. Again, questions in the Q&A and comments in the chat. So now with all of those logistics out of the way, let's get started. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to pass it over to Mary and Cindy from Valley Water.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Cindy Torres, and I am a water conservation specialist with Valley Water. We also have with us Mary Seymour and Aaron with Bottom Line Utility Services as a guest speaker. Today, we will be providing you with the presentation on indoor water conservation. Next. Next.
I apologize. I'm having just a bit of a technical difficulty. So sorry, but I'm unable to go to the next slide. Cindy, do you mind sharing your screen?
Sure, just a second here.
I apologize, folks, for the technical difficulty.
Nice. Cindy and Mary, let me know if there's anything that we can do to support.
Thank you.
Mhm. Well, we do have a couple moments. If those who are in the audience maybe want to drop in the chat again where you're joining from, or if there's something that you're particularly interested in learning about today.
So Cindy, when you go into the sharing, you would select share screen and then go to advanced and then point of area for the sharing. And you can select just the PowerPoint so as to not share your notes.
I'm having some technical difficulties too, so just a second. Apologize about that.
Bruce, thanks for engaging in the chat. I see that Bruce would be interested in how to detect water leaks. Their faucet sputters with air every morning. Appreciate that, Bruce. Kathy, welcome from Sebastopol. Nice. Shannon from Morgan Hill. Appreciate the patience here and engaging in the chat. It is nice to hear from you all, especially when we can't see you. Nice, Cindy. That's looking good on our end.
All right, apologies about that. Let's get started. So before we get started, we'd like to provide you with a brief introduction to Valley Water. So who is Valley Water? What do we do and who do we serve? Valley Water, previously known as Santa Clara Valley Water District, serves nearly 2 million people who live and work in Santa Clara County. Valley Water is a water wholesaler, not a water retailer. We provide water to 13 local water retailers who then get the water from us to you. Valley Water's mission is to provide Silicon Valley with safe, clean water for a healthy life, environment, and economy. And we do that through ensuring clean, reliable water supply, providing flood protection, and being stewards of the environment. Today, we will be walking you through information you already have. You can't conserve what you don't measure, which is why understanding your water bill and your water meters are key components in learning to conserve water indoors. We're also going to talk about leak detection techniques, and my colleague Mary will touch on modernized technology to help monitor your water use. Then we will hand it off to our guest speaker today to talk about your indoor plumbing fixtures to help increase efficiency. And we'll also share some available resources with you. Sorry about that. So let's talk about water bills. Bills are not complicated if you know where to look for the information you need. Water bills will vary by retailers, but they're all going to have a very similar structure. They're going to have taxes, fees, some type of standard meter charge based on the size of your meter, and they'll likely be a volumetric charge. Today, we will be using a San Jose Water Company bill as an example. As you can see, sections 1 and 2 are very straightforward. In section 1, you have the account holder information, and in section 2, you have the retailer's contact information. Section 3 here, the billing information includes the service address, the billing period or date range for which you are being billed. This is important as billing frequencies will vary among water retailers. Some bill monthly and others, like San Jose Water Company, bill bi-monthly. And it's important to understand that in order to understand your water usage. Here you will also find the rate schedule code, water service size, which is the size of your meter, and that often depends on the size of your home. And most importantly, it has your previous and current meter readings, which determines your total water usage for the billing period, which is measured in CCFs. You might be asking yourself, what is a CCF? That is a unit of measurement for this retailer, which I will talk a little bit more about shortly. There are many costs related to providing reliable water service and ensuring it meets drinking standards. And those charges are reflected in Section 4 under current charges. There's a lot of information to cover here, but what I want to focus your attention on are the service charge and quantity charges. The service charge is applied to all customers regardless of how much water is used. This charge will depend on the size of your meter. It is a fixed cost used by all water retailers that covers expenses related to operating and maintaining water systems. Ultimately, it ensures that you have reliable, clean, ready-to-use water when you turn on your faucet. Now, quantity charges reflects water usage charges for actual water used during the billing period. So let's go back to Section 3. You are billed for every CCF, which stands for centum cubic foot of water used. 1 CCF is equal to 100 cubic feet, or 748 gallons of water. So here you can see that the total water usage for this billing period is 41 CCF, which is the difference between the previous and the current meter reading. So what does that equal to in gallons? To convert the CCF to gallons, you would simply multiply the number of CCF by 748 gallons, which in this case is 30,668 gallons. Now that is a lot of water. And for that reason, some retailers have established monthly or bi-monthly water allocations, and you are billed at different tiers based on your water usage. As reflected on the bottom left, using that example, the first 6 CCF of those 41 CCF used during this billing period are billed at the first tier. The 7 to 36 are billed at the second tier, and anything over the 36 CCF would be billed at the third tier. The most efficient water usage would be between the 2 top tiers, so that's what you would want to stay between. Your bills will more than likely also include a consumption history, which will reflect your usage for the current and previous year. It will provide you with a breakdown of units used in CCF and gallons, the number of days for the billing period, and the gallons used per day. The consumption history is important to understand your water usage trends as they vary by month or season. Understanding your water bill will also help identify leaks if you were to receive a water bill that's for some reason higher than normal or outside of your usage trend. So we have a poll question for you today. And the question is, have you ever checked your water meter before? All right, so for those of you that haven't checked your water meter before, locating your water meter and knowing how to read it not only gives you insight to your water usage, it can also help you detect leaks. Here are 2 examples of meter locations. On the left is an example of a meter bank located at a HOA complex, and on the right is an example of a water meter located adjacent to the house valve in front of a single-family home. For a single-family home, the meter should be located near the street, driveway, or sidewalk. You'll want to look for a rectangular box as shown on the right that is marked water on the lid. So inside of that box, you will find your water meter. The majority of meters in Santa Clara County are analog meters as shown on the left and center photos. However, some retailers are moving towards smart meters or digital meters that use advanced meter infrastructure technology, or AMI for short, which Mary will talk about later on. But for now, let's focus on the analog meter. The numbers that correspond to the water bill that we just talked about are written in black and are highlighted in the red box. Similar to your car's odometer, the numbers are read from left to right, and instead of miles, it records cubic feet. Disregard the blacked out boxes as those measure units less than 100 cubic feet, and you are billed for every 100 cubic feet of water that you use. So 100 cubic feet is equal to 1 CCF, or 748 gallons. And 1 revolution of the sweep hand is equal to 7.48 gallons of water, which is equal to the 1 cubic foot. So as you can see here, this is the sweep hand and the flow indicator. So this meter reading has recorded 0081, which indicates the total number of water usage since the lifetime of the meter. If the meter were to read 0091 a month later, you have used 10 CCF of water for that period. To convert that into gallons, you would simply multiply 10 by 748, just as we did during the bill review. Learning to read your water meter can help you determine how much water you use for a single task, such as irrigating your landscape, and it can also help you determine leaks. So let's talk a little bit about how that process works. I'm going to walk you through some very easy to follow steps that can be found in Valley Water's Indoor DIY Kit, which is available through our online shopping cart at watersavings.org, which we will provide in the chat. The first step in determining leaks would be to turn off all water inside and outside of the home, making sure no one is using water during the testing period. Next, locate and check your water meter. Be sure to bring along a pen and paper to write down your meter read as well. So when checking your meter, you should see no movement, meaning the sweep hand, which is highlighted here in red, should not be moving, as well as the low flow indicator, which is the little red triangle highlighted here. The low flow indicator is used to measure water that is flowing through the meter, indicating that water is being used. If the flow indicator is turning after you turned off all water usage inside the property, you've got a leak. However, if it's not moving, there's still a very slight possibility you may still have a very small leak that is not being detected by looking at the meter. You can rule out the possibility of a small leak by performing a leak test. Simply place a toothpick on the face of the meter and line it up with the low flow indicator as shown in the center photo. Remember to keep all the water devices off and wait for 30 minutes. You will then check your meter again to see if the low flow indicator has moved. As you can see here in the picture on the right, the low flow indicator has moved, indicating there is a leak. If you indicated a leak, the next step would be to do the house line test. The house line is the pipe that connects from the meter to your house. It is typically adjacent to the water meter as shown on the left, but it may be on the side of your home somewhere else. The house valve is typically located below the hose bib and is shown in the center and far right photos. Turning it completely off will shut off all water on your property. If the low flow indicator continues to move after you've turned off the valve, then the leak is somewhere in the supply line from the meter to the shutoff valve. If the low flow indicator has stopped rotating, the leak is inside of the house somewhere. Leaks waste a tremendous amount of water and can develop into more serious plumbing issues if left unfixed. The average household leak can account for nearly 10,000 gallons of water wasted every year, and 10% of homes have leaks that waste 90 gallons or more per day. The most common types of leaks are found in toilets, dripping faucets, and shower heads. Erin will talk more about replacing toilets later in this presentation, but identifying and fixing leaks has so much potential in saving water. Valley Water offers resources to help with detecting and repairing these types of leaks, such as the indoor DIY kit, leak detection tablets, even replacement flappers and aerators. All of these items can be found on our online shopping cart at watersavings.org. I'll be handing it off now to my colleague, Mary.
Thanks, Cindy. You can go to the next slide. Hey, everyone. My name is Mary Seymour. I'm also a water conservation specialist at Valley Water. And now that Cindy's provided us with a great overview of how to understand your water bill and some of the traditional ways for measuring and monitoring your water use and detecting leaks, you know, the old school ways of lifting up the meter and doing a meter test, I want to talk some more about some of the technological advances that have taken place and some of the ways that we can use technology to better monitor and measure our water use. And so that starts with an AMI, and Cindy was talking a little bit about AMI. Advanced metering infrastructure. Some consider this to be really the future of water metering. And AMI is, or some like to call it smart metering or digital meters. These replace the old analog meters that Cindy was referring to, and instead they enable two-way communication between the customer and the water utility. So these are installed, and these are your water meter. And instead of having a meter reader come around and, you know, measure your water meter once a month, these often come with a portal that customers can log into, and they can be read remotely. And the signal is sent to a server, and water use can be measured as close as up to an hour. So it really gives customers the ability to monitor their water use on a near real-time basis. And that's really beneficial. Like Cindy said, you can't conserve what you can't measure, but then it also has the capability of sending leak alerts. So often retailers can set thresholds for flow rates. And if the water meter indicates that the flow has exceeded that amount, these AMI have the capability of sending alerts to customers for high water usage. So these are really great tools. Valley Water is cost sharing with our water retailers for deploying AMI in our service area. So our water retailers, several of them are in some level of deployment of AMI. So you may have already had your water meter switched out with an AMI meter. If you're interested in understanding whether AMI will be deployed for your home in your service area, we encourage you to go to our website and search Find My Water Retailer and get in touch with your water retailer, and you can ask those questions about when AMI will be deployed. You can go to the next slide. And now this is another option. Flow monitoring devices are another option for accurate water monitoring and getting a really clear understanding of what your water usage is. This is kind of an alternative to AMI. Like I said, AMI is your water meter. That's owned and monitored and managed by your utility. And flow monitoring devices, on the other hand, these are in addition to your water meter. So these don't replace your water meter, but these are really cool because you can attach these to your water meter, and you can manage them yourself. And they can provide you more data about your water usage than you would normally get in your typical monthly water bill, or if you don't have AMI for your household yet. So there's several models and makes of these on the market, and as a government agency, Valley Water doesn't promote any one particular model, but I've got a few of them listed here, and they all have like slightly different capabilities and slightly different features. So I encourage anybody who does not have AMI, I really encourage folks to research these flow meters and to see which one could be right for them. Like I said, like the Flume, for example, that just straps onto your meter. And then one thing that is common among all of these makes and models is that they come with an app on your phone. And as they're measuring the water usage, you can also get leak alerts, and you can look at an analysis of your water meter. Some of them can even identify where your usage is coming from, indoor, outdoors, and some of them even have water shutoff capability. So if you're on vacation and you get an alert that a pipe has burst or you have a high leak alert, some of them have the capability to shut the water off for you. So there's great water saving potentials. Like Cindy said, leaks are such an issue among homeowners and even businesses. So having a better understanding of your water usage with this like accurate monitoring is a really helpful tool. You can go next. And if you could just shift the screen a little bit, Cindy. Another option, I just want to cover all of the options, the different technologies that are available for water monitoring. So another option is flow sensors and landscape irrigation meters. And I know we're focusing on indoor water usage, but I do just want to cover all of the options available. So landscape irrigation meters are just that. They are intended to specifically measure the water to your landscape. So these are often used, for example, at commercial sites, HOAs, anywhere where there's a high water usage. They really want to like parse out the indoor water usage and the landscape water usage. So then you can get an idea of really where that water is being used, whether it's indoors or in the landscape. So that's what landscape irrigation meters are. It's a specific meter specifically for your landscape. And then flow sensors are another device that can be used in conjunction with your irrigation controller. And they do just that. They sense the flow going through the irrigation valves. And if they indicate a high water usage for a broken pipe in your irrigation system, they can communicate with the irrigation controller and also have shutoff capabilities in some cases. So these are just additional technology, additional tools to reduce really water waste is what these get at in the landscape. And so I will be talking about this a little bit later, but Valley Water does offer a rebate for landscape irrigation meters and flow sensors. I'll talk about that a bit later. We can go to the next slide. And although we've primarily been talking about residential water usage, I do want to touch on some of the multifamily residential options that there are, and those are submeters. And so submeters are specifically for multifamily complexes. Again, these are HOAs, apartment complexes, mobile home parks, and oftentimes those are on one master meter. So although they may have 200 units, there's one meter that measures all of that water use. And then the water bill is broken down from that for the individual tenants. And that can be problematic for leaking infrastructure or encouraging conservation if you can't conserve what you don't measure. So submetering is very beneficial in that sense. And it is to install a water meter at each of the individual units that can monitor and measure the water for each of the units. And through a Valley Water pilot that was done in the year 2000, it found that submeters can save between 15 and 30% of water. And so there's significant savings when you can monitor water use at multifamily complexes. You can go to the next slide. And thank you. So some of the benefits of submeters, like I said, they help to find and fix leaks more efficiently. And in that study, it found that only 10% of units were using 50% of the water. So there's kind of an issue of like equity there, right? Like some people could be using significantly more water in some units, and the water bill is just dispersed evenly. So accurate measurement allows for and encourages conservation. So that covers submeters. You can go to the next slide. And just want to provide a little bit of information on some of Valley Water's programs. First and foremost, like Cindy said, at watersavings.org, we have an online shopping cart where you can order free items to help you save water in your home. Those include, like Cindy said, the DIY indoor survey kit. I encourage everybody to order this. It's for free. We'll ship it right to you. You could be your own leak detective and check all of your equipment for leaks. We give away shower heads, we give away aerators, hose nozzles, toilet flappers if you suspect you have a leak in your toilet. And then we have a multitude of resources, educational resources that you can learn some like simple practical plumbing fixes if you do find that you have a leak. And so there's just a multitude of information on watersavings.org that I encourage you all to check out. You can go to the next slide. And then finally, some of our programs, we've got rebates to provide for saving water. So first and foremost, we have our water efficient technology rebate, which is our WET rebate for short. And this is specifically for commercial properties. This is for businesses. We offer a customized rebate for replacing water using equipment with more efficient models. And like I said, this is customized. We offer up to $100,000 or 100% of the equipment cost, which is a sizable amount. The rebate is based on water saved. So we meter before and after installing the equipment, and we rebate based on the amount of water that is saved. Some of the examples of some of the previous rebates that we've provided are cooling towers, production equipment, laundry equipment, food processors, anything that uses water that can be replaced with a more efficient model, we can customize a rebate for. We also do offer rebates, like I mentioned, for the submeters, $150 per submeter installed. And then we do offer up to $1,000 for flow sensors and landscape irrigation meters. So that covers everything for Valley Water's program, and I will turn it over to Erin to talk about upgrading your plumbing fixtures. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Aaron Edelstein. I work with Bottom Line Utility Solutions. We're a general contractor that does a lot of plumbing upgrade work throughout California, mainly multifamily, and we work very closely with Valley Water on some of their multifamily programs, assisting properties in the area with upgrading older and inefficient plumbing fixtures. And so I have a presentation as well that I will share the screen here. Just one second. Okay, go with me here. So many people may think that shower heads or clothes washers might be the largest water wasters in their homes. But as Valley Water alluded to earlier, that actually is toilets. Toilets are a huge water waster, mainly because over time, the flappers inside of the toilets start to deteriorate. Usually it can be as early as 3 to 5 years. And a leaky running toilet can actually use up to 200 gallons of water per day. So replacing the flapper every 5 to 10 years can help to avoid these leaks. Another way around that, and I can get into this a little bit later, is leak prevention and detection fixtures. Detection fixtures go on the supply line of a toilet and will let you know if a toilet is leaking or running, so you can go identify that and fix it yourself, or call a local plumber to stop the leak. And there's also leak prevention fixtures, things that replace the flapper inside of the toilet and are designed to prevent toilet leaks and also aid in water conservation of your guys' toilets. So slide here. Oh, yeah. So ways to just use less water in your home. Obviously, toilets, we just alluded to it. If your home was built, say, before 1994, and you have the existing original toilets from that time, they have a big bulky tank to them, they can use up to 5 gallons with every flush. So replacing that with a water efficient fixture can get you all the way down to 1 gallon or 0.8 gallons per flush. We put in these fixtures all the time. We probably put in about 10 to 15,000 water efficient toilets throughout the state of California every single year. And we'll get into, water efficient toilets more in general here later in the presentation. Things like there's things you can easily identify. Say your shower head in your bathroom, you can quickly check. It's in small print, it's hard to see, but if it uses anywhere more than, I would say, 1.75 gallons per flush, then it's a recommendation to go even lower. Typically we recommend people put in a 1.25 or a 1.5 gallons per minute shower head. Concurrently, the same thing with the aerators. That's the little device on the bottom of the restroom and kitchen faucets. If you see something along the lines of 1.5 gallons per minute in the restroom and 2.2 gallons per minute in the kitchen, it's probably time to change that out and find something that goes a little bit lower. With the kitchen, I recommend going down to 1.5 gallons per minute, and with the restroom, anywhere from 0.5 to 1.0. Those are usually the flows we use for a lot of the conservation projects we do throughout the state. As I mentioned before, the aquamizer, that's something that we're doing. That's the leak prevention fixture that replaces the flapper. There's other products like the aquamizer, but that's one of the ones we've been using to help prevent toilet leaks and also just reduce the water consumption from each toilet. Let's go to the next slide here. So a lot of the same approaches apply for renters as well as property owners. As before, always check your meters. That's a quick and easy way to see if you have a leak, because you can track irregular activity. If the last couple of months have been steady and all of a sudden there's a spike in usage, most likely you have some sort of leak, and more often than not, it's going to be coming from the toilet. And then there's simple tricks, obviously shorter showers, using the faucets less often, only do full loads of laundry, same thing with your dishwasher. So let's go to the next slide here. So as alluded to before, you should check out the Valley Water shopping cart. There's some free upgrades that Mary and the team mentioned before, things like shower heads, aerators, a bunch of cool little stuff that you can get for free to help you guys reduce your utility bills. So one of the things you also want to make sure, and I'll get into this a little bit later, is making sure that any water efficient fixture that you purchase for your home is WaterSense approved. You're going to want to make sure you have that because there are some fixtures out there that may not work properly, but if it's WaterSense, it's safe to put in your home. So the benefits of addressing leaks could mean savings of hundreds of dollars annually, especially with toilets. As I mentioned before, if they use, a leaky running toilet and you don't even know about it, you could be losing hundreds of gallons of water a day, and that could lead to pretty high utility bills at the end of the year. Let's see here, go to the next slide. So are high efficient fixtures right for you? The short answer is always going to be yes. We all know what in my industry, we work with a lot of people that are hesitant at times about water efficient fixtures. Do they work? Do I have to flush the toilet multiple times? But the technology is advanced over the years to where that really isn't an issue anymore. We put in, like I mentioned, 10 to 15,000 toilets a year, and them not flushing properly is not something we commonly hear. Sorry, lost my spot here. So one of the things is if you get into water efficient fixtures now, you'll just be reaping the benefits, reaping the savings instead of waiting. Because we've had a lot of people in our line of work, wait to address toilets that have been sitting there for 40 years. Their water bills have been sky high for the last number of years, but finally they came around, and their utility bills are they're showing them why they did it in the first place. So there's a lot of different options. As a contractor, we're not product specific in what we put in, but here's a couple of products that we use: Western Pottery, Caroma, HD Supply. A lot of these fixtures we use for the projects we do. The key things you want to look for, as I mentioned, you always want to make sure that there's a water sense label when you're purchasing any kind of plumbing upgrade for your home. Another key thing is what's called a MAPS score. And here we put a link to it where you can check the toilet you're purchasing. We always recommend that the fixture rates an 800 out of 1,000 or more. The average toilet in a home, that's 1.5 gallons per flush. That's the common toilet you might find. That will usually range from 400 to 500 out of 1,000. So if anything, these fixtures will flush better, and obviously they will save water and on your utility costs. Let's go here to the next slide. So as I mentioned before, there is still a lot of people out there that they think that water efficient toilets will not perform well. They will flush multiple times. They'll cause more headache than savings. But as I alluded to before, we put in quite a lot of toilets every year, and that's not really something we hear about. Maybe 5-10 years ago when the technology wasn't quite there. And as I mentioned before, they should work better than most fixtures that you already have in your home. Let's go to the next slide here. And the other thing I want to mention really quick is the older a toilet is. So I did mention it, I believe, before, but the older a toilet is, the more likely the flapper is to be worn down, to leak, to more commonly leak. And it's just not something that people think about when they see a high water bill. They think that they've been taking longer showers, or there's been some kind of, I don't know, but toilet leaks is commonly the culprit for a large utility bill. So I wanted to go into a couple other things here, a couple other energy and water savers, mainly on the water side. When to upgrade your washing machines and dishwashing machines. So as I mentioned here, dishwashers have a lifespan of 10 years. Typically, washing machines have a lifespan of 11. And concurrently, so with with plumbing upgrades for your homes, you always want to make sure there is the water sense label. For dishwashers, washing machines, water heaters, always make sure the Energy Star label is there. That's what you're going to want to see when purchasing new equipment for your home that is energy efficient. So water heaters, we want to quickly touch on this as well. These are not typically huge water savers, but they are fairly large energy savers, and it's kind of dependent on which way you go. The three main things, that we have 4 here, but the 3 main things that we look for our clients is high efficiency systems, tankless water heaters that just drastically reduce the amount of gas that you use to heat the water for your home, and then heat pump water heaters, essentially the electrification of a gas boiler or water heater, depending on the property. So I want to quickly, sorry about that, lost my place again. Phone keeps bugging out here. So if you're looking for some more of the more common upgrades people look for just for their home, is just a high efficiency water heater. We recommend, if looking for a new system, always look for a system that uses at least 83% efficiency or higher. Anything lower, they don't typically last as long, they don't perform as well, and you don't really get a lot of the savings. And typically price range, they're not too dissimilar. And one of the more interesting things is these heat pump systems. Obviously, you're eliminating the gas usage for your home. Your kWh usage, your energy, electric usage would rise a bit from these systems, but your overall usage would decrease. And as mentioned before, with the dishwashers and washing machines, same thing. Want to make sure the Energy Star label is there before purchasing any new equipment for your homes. The next slide here. So water softeners, it's always a good idea to install water softeners in your homes. Hard water is a huge problem throughout the entire state. So if you remove the calcium and magnesium, it will help with, oh, I'm sorry about that. It'll cause a lot less problems for your home. Some of the things that are caused by this buildup of hard water, you get scale buildup on your plumbing fixtures, dry skin or hair, you get faded clothes, stained sinks or bathtubs, more frequent plumbing repairs, and a rise in utility costs. So it's always a good idea to address hard water by getting water softeners for your home. And finally, as I mentioned before, there's a lot of great incentives that Valley Water has to offer. Toilet flappers, shower heads, aerators, a lot of freebie, easy stuff that you can install in most cases by yourself that will go a long way in reducing your utility costs. And as before mentioned, always look for the WaterSense label and the Energy Star label, depending on the equipment you're purchasing. And lastly, as mentioned many times throughout this presentation, toilets will always be key. If you see a sharp rise in your water usage, most likely the culprit is going to be a leaky running toilet. And that concludes my side of things. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and I will pass this back over to Valley Water.
That actually wraps everything up. Ava, if you want to hop back in for the question and answer.
Sounds good. Great. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. Great presentations. We're going to hop into Q&A. So if you have any questions for our presenters, please drop them into the Q&A section now.
Clearly, all of our presenters were so thorough. They're pondering questions.
I see that there's a question in the chat. Interested in links to efficient water heater systems, please. And I can actually provide that.
Thanks, Mary. And I also want to just uplift that we will be sending a follow-up email with additional links and resources.
Great.
Happy, I see your comment here about the heat pump water heater. A heat pump water heater is just an electric way to heat your water. So instead of using traditionally gas to heat the water in your homes, it's an electric system. Typically, these are a bit complex to put in the home. So I would have somebody come out and evaluate your electrical equipment to see if you have capacity to put in a heat pump system, because typically it requires a bit of electrical capacity from your home to get these systems going.
Great. Thank you. It looks like we have some more Q&A questions. I'm just going to share my screen really fast. Okay, another question we have is from Bruce. Thank you, Bruce. It says, I have a well with a water system that serves 2 houses and a small 2-acre vineyard. Can you provide advice about what meters I need in cost?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we offer a rebate for well meters. And I think what I could do, Bruce, is I'd like to have like more of a conversation with you, and maybe we can chat some more about that. So could you share your contact information? We can talk about what you're interested in, and if Valley Water has any resources to provide.
Great. Thank you. And Bruce, if you'd like to drop your information, you can send it directly to Mary via chat. Any other questions regarding this topic of indoor water leak detection, or stories anybody would like to share? Here we go. What is the average life of a water heater?
I can speak to that. A traditional water heater that isn't above 83% efficiency will last 6 to 12 years. A heat pump water heater will usually last anywhere from 10 to 15. Tankless systems, they'll last closer to 20. And the high efficiency water heaters will also last close to about 15 to 20 years.
Great, thank you, Aaron. It looks like a lot of questions are, well, a few questions are starting to come in, which is good. I know it's a heavy topic, so I'm sure people are just thinking of their questions. Thank you, Joan, for your question. It says, I'm an HOA president and we're watching our water bill climb and climb. Would love to know more about submeters.
Yeah, Joan, I'd love to talk with you more about it. I actually manage that program. So I could definitely support you through the whole application process. There are a few, the eligibility requirements are just, it sounds, just that you have, you're on a master meter, and then that there are individual water lines to each of the units. There's some certification through the county weights and measures department. That's external to Valley Water, but we do verify. And that has to do with the efficacy of the submeters that you select. And so there's a couple of different criteria and qualifications. So I'd be happy to have a conversation with you, Joan, if you'd like to provide your information, and we can work through the application process. Okay, and I have your email.
Great, looks like people are dropping their information. Joan's also asking, how does tankless work? Just curious, and will it work for residential?
The short answer is yes, it will work. Tankless systems will work for residential. Essentially, they heat water instantaneously without the use of a storage tank. Typically, you have a storage tank along a big storage tank as the water heater. So when the hot water is turned on, cold water flows through the heat exchanger in the unit, and either a gas burner or an electric element will heat the water.
Great. Any other questions for the panelists? Okay, if there are no more questions, I'm going to conclude this presentation, and I'm going to give a special thanks to our sponsors as well. So without our sponsors listed here, programs like this would not be possible. So thank you to all of our sponsors, and thank you to all of you. Thank you to Valley Water. If you have any questions, feel free to email me at ava@dailyax.org, or you can call the number here on the screen. You can also contact Valley Water. Oh, I do see some more questions coming in. So let's do one more since we're here. Is tankless better than the heat pump system you described?
I wouldn't say it's better. It's just different. The push for, well, it's worth noting this, Joan. California did pass a law that by 2030, gas boilers and water heaters will not be sold in the state. So eventually everyone here in the state of California will need to make the switch to electric systems. So I would recommend going on PG&E's website. They may have some incentives for electrification for residential homes, because it is worth looking into this now while there might be some incentive help, because a heat pump install is traditionally a bit more expensive than tankless or a high efficiency system.
Great. Thank you, Joan, for all your questions. Thank you, everyone, for all your questions. And Aaron, Mary, and Cindy, that was a wonderful presentation. And I feel that I gained a lot from it, a lot of understanding of what in the house is causing leaks and could be more efficient. So thank you all for participating. We do have another program coming up on April 13th, and you can find the information that's on programming irrigation schedules and maintenance for irrigation, and you can find that at dailyacts.org/upcoming events. As you log off, there will be a survey that will pop up at the end. It'll take you to a link for a survey on this program. So it would be very helpful if you fill that out so we can improve our programs in the future. So thank you all. Thank you again, Aaron, Mary, and Cindy, and hope everyone has a wonderful evening.
Thank you, everybody. I also want to add, for our panelists and our hosts, I just sent a calendar invite for us to debrief. Thank you all.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.